Hi, I'm Mick Davie, your iFit guide. I've lived all over the world and travelled much of the globe. But I was born in a landlocked, teapot-shaped country named Zimbabwe. And it's Zimbabwe where we find ourselves today, on the mighty Zambezi River, no less. My work as a documentary filmmaker has taken me all over the globe. But there's something about Africa, and in particular Zimbabwe, that calls to me and always brings me home. I love the people, the climate, the smell of the bush after the rains, and the incredible wildlife. Elephant, lion, buffalo, leopard, giraffe. And we're going to be seeing a lot of these animals in this series. We'll get close to elephant and rhinoceros, track a herd of buffalo, and learn bushcraft and survival techniques on patrol with an anti-poaching unit. We'll also explore the ancient granite rock formations and burial grounds of Matokos National Park near Bulawayo, where I was born. Finally, we'll explore the ancient ruins of Great Zimbabwe, the astonishing medieval stone city in the center of the country from which Zimbabwe gets its name. So I hope you'll join me as we explore this incredible country. And there is no place on earth as majestic as what I'm going to be showing you today, Victoria Falls, the largest waterfall on the planet and one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. I hope you're feeling good because we're about to go on an amazing adventure. So you can go ahead and start warming up on your machine. Come. Let's head down this way. So the Zambezi River here behind me is a monumental river, and it evokes as much mystery, excitement, danger and mythology as the Congo or the Amazon. It's the 4th largest river in Africa and the longest eastern flowing river on the continent. It starts about 800 miles north of here in the mountains of northern Zambia up near the Congo, and it flows south and then east through Angola, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, into Zambia again, before reaching the Indian Ocean, 1,600 miles away. Let's head over this little stream. It's been raining a lot in the last couple of days here. Everything's looking very lush and green, which is wonderful for Zimbabwe's farmers and great for the wildlife around here. Let me attempt to cross this river without falling in. There we go. You're going to feel your machine start to kick up in a moment. There's a little slope ahead of us. Good for your legs. Hope you're feeling warmed up. Here we go. There's something primordial about the Zambezi River. It brings back so many wonderful childhood memories. As a young boy growing up in Zimbabwe, the country was known by its colonial name then, Rhodesia. My family and I would take camping trips to the Zambezi, and we loved to catch tiger fish. The tiger is an incredible freshwater game fish, named for its vivid, bright stripes and jagged teeth. And it's actually a cousin of the piranha in the Amazon. They make great fishing, very, very difficult fish to land on the shore, and that's what makes them so much fun to catch. The river is also packed, absolutely packed, with crocodiles and hippos. And I'm told the hippo is the most dangerous animal in Africa, responsible for killing more people than any other creature. Who would have thought? Now, you don't get those kinds of creatures in the Bosphorus or the Hudson. And that's what makes the Zambezi, for me, the most thrilling river in the world. It's not only the length and the volume of the river, the whitewater rapids, the rock gorges, and the lakes on its course, but the fact that there's so much life in it and around it and on its shores. Elephants and buffalo drink from its banks. Warthogs play in the mud. Monkeys and baboons swing from the vines in the riverine forest. Now, we're going to be seeing a lot of that in this series. First, let's make our way downriver and see Victoria Falls. Okay, you should be fairly well warmed up by now, so it's time to get your heart rate climbing. You're about to see something pretty special, or rather hear something special. Can you hear that? Can you hear that roar? It's the summer rainy season here in Zimbabwe, which means that the river water level is really high right now, and that's where that sound is coming from. The current is incredibly strong. But that doesn't mean we can't get close to the falls on foot, really close, dangerously close. If you come around this corner, you're going to see something really special. Check that out in the distance over there. We're still a mile away from the falls, and we can already see the spray lifting up out of the gorge. It's a permanent cloud of mist sent up by force of 600 million gallons of water per minute, crashing more than 300 feet over the falls onto the basalt rocks of the gorge below. Now, the Batonka and the other indigenous people of this region have a name for Victoria Falls. They call it Mozi Atunya, the smoke that thunders. And it's exactly that. Let's keep going along this way and go see that thunder. Come and take a look at this. From this vantage point, you can really see the power of the water as it surges towards the lip of the falls. I can't tell you how excited I am to be back in Zimbabwe. There hasn't been this much rainfall since 1965, which means the falls are at their biggest and best. Now, before I show you the falls in all of their magnificence, I want to introduce you to somebody. Come and have a look over here. Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Even if you know very little about Africa and have never set foot on this continent, you probably know those words. Dr. Livingstone, I presume. You might even know they were spoken by the British-American adventurer Henry Morton Stanley to this man, the 19th century British missionary explorer, Dr. David Livingstone. Come down this way, we're going to learn some more about him. In 1869, the American, Stanley, was paid by the New York Herald newspaper to track down Livingstone, who had gone missing for 6 years in Central Africa. And he finally located him in Tanzania in 1871. But Livingstone had become world famous, the most famous explorer on Earth, much earlier than that. And his story is quite extraordinary. Let's head down this way. Born into a poor family in Scotland in 1813, Livingstone started working in a cotton mill at the age of 10. He wanted to become a doctor, and he saved money to attend medical school, learning Latin and Greek in the process. A devout Christian, he later joined the London Missionary Society and became a committed slavery abolitionist. I'm just going to duck under this tree. And like many abolitionists, he believed that the way to end the African slave trade was to open up the continent to legitimate trade and by spreading Christianity. Now, he first came to Africa, Cape Town, in 1841 at the age of 28. He then explored further north, pushing into territory where no European, certainly no British man, had ever been before. By 1842, he'd reached the Kalahari Desert in today's Botswana. But it was his first Zambezi expedition, a journey down the course of this exact river a few years later at the age of 38, that made him the most famous explorer on Earth. He believed that if he could find the Zambezi's route to the ocean and open it up to commerce, he could help end the slave trade. And that mission drove him as much as his mission to convert Africans to Christianity. "I shall open up a path to the interior or perish," he wrote. And it was on that expedition that he became the first European to set eyes on Victoria Falls. The date was November 17th, 1855. Livingstone was traveling in a dugout canoe with 114 men following him, coming downriver in the same direction we came earlier. The African companions he was traveling with told him the name of the falls was Mosi Otunya, the smoke that thunders. And Livingstone, ever the loyal British subject, rechristened them in honor of Queen Victoria. And they are now known throughout the world as Victoria Falls. Now, it says something about the respect and reverence black Zimbabweans have for David Livingstone that when the country changed its name from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe at independence in 1980 after a bitter civil war against the white descendants of British colonial rule, that they not only kept the name Victoria Falls for this treasure, but ensured that the statue of Livingstone remained in place, gazing out on what the explorer called the most wonderful sight I had ever seen in Africa. And here it is. This is Victoria Falls. Absolutely magnificent. And let's just pause here for a second and soak in this view. And you can see just how wide it is, about 1,700 meters. That's 18 soccer fields wide and up to 330 feet high in certain parts. That makes it 1.5 times wider and more than twice as high as Niagara Falls. This is the biggest curtain of falling water in the world. I love this view, but believe it or not, it gets even more spectacular further on. How are you doing? Are you ready to keep going? All right, let's walk. So you might have noticed that we're walking through a kind of rainforest, where actually it's a mist forest. This beautiful, rich, verdant green landscape is actually nourished by the spray or the mist from Victoria Falls. I've never seen it quite so lush as this, and it's just so lovely to be walking through such an oxygen-rich environment. I hope you're enjoying the walk, stretching those legs. Now come around here, there's a lovely view that I'd like to show you. And it always surprises me here at Victoria Falls just how close to the edge you can get. Only a few months ago, somebody slipped and fell to their death from a point downriver, so I need to be careful. At the same time, I have to admit, I kind of like the fact that there's no fence or wall built to protect tourists, just this low thorn barrier. And in many ways, despite being such a huge tourist attraction, the falls remain in their natural state, not much different to how Livingstone first saw them. A picture Livingstone 170 years ago coming to that heart-stopping precipice in a wooden canoe. We know that he put on a brave face because he wrote about it in his journal. He said it seemed as if they were going to go right over the edge. "I said nothing, believing I could face a difficulty as well as my guides," he wrote. Now, just up here, there's a slight incline, so you're going to feel your machine start to kick up. Livingstone was all stiff upper lip, British, stoic and unemotional. He was really the ultimate Victorian. He was probably wearing a suit with a matching waistcoat and a wide-brimmed hat and a pocket watch. Now, landing on the island, he lay on his stomach at the lip of the falls and he looked down into the seething cauldron below, getting drenched through the skin by the mist. Now, through that mist, he could see rainbows. And if we look down, we can see the exact cauldron he's talking about, and sometimes even a rainbow. We'll see how lucky we are. This is the main falls. Incredible. Thunderous, isn't it? So the land on the other side of the river over here is actually another country, Zambia. And as we walk away from the main falls and move towards the lower gorges, it's worth closing out David Livingstone's story, for it is in Zambia where he left his heart. And not to sound too macabre, but I mean that literally. And we're approaching a slope up here, so you're going to feel your machine start to kick up in just a second. So Livingstone became world famous after his epic first Zambezi expedition. He returned to Britain a national hero. He wrote books, gave lectures and talks. He was a sort of Indiana Jones with a Bible and lion scars. Then in 1866, he returned to Africa again, this time to Central Africa, in search of the source of the Nile. But he was constantly ill with cholera, malaria, and ulcers. He witnessed firsthand the evils of slavery, including the massacre of African villagers by Arab slavers. And he lost complete contact with the outside world for 6 years, as if he was stranded on the moon. And I'm sure you can see it on camera. The wind's just changed direction and the mist from the falls is blowing over us now. I'm going to be soaked to the skin in just a moment. Anyway, it was the aforementioned British-American Henry Morton Stanley, who'd been sent by the New York Herald, who found the great explorer Livingstone on the shores of Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania and uttered those immortal words. "Dr. Livingstone, I presume?" Well, Livingstone never made it back to Britain from that journey. He died on the 1st of May, 1873, at the age of 60 in a village in the Bangwelu swamps in far northeastern Zambia. His loyal attendants, Chuma and Susi, actually removed his heart and buried it under an umvula tree near the spot where he died. ornate steel span railway connecting Zimbabwe on that side to Zambia, over what is called the Second Gorge. It was erected in 1905 and designed by a team of British engineers that included Sir Ralph Freeman, who would later go on to design Sydney Harbour Bridge. Can you imagine what an astonishing feat it was for that time? A steel bridge built in Britain, taken apart, shipped across the ocean and transported 1,000 miles inland into the heart of southern Africa, finally to be erected over this towering gorge in the midst of a jungle. It makes my head spin. And I actually can't help thinking about German director Werner Herzog's epic film Fitzcarraldo, which is based on a true story about a European robber baron who obsessively transported a steamship through the jungle to get it to the Amazon River. And this bridge, to me, is Africa's Fitzcarraldo. Now, Cecil John Rhodes, the great British imperialist for whom Rhodesia was named, had a dream to build a railway line from Cape Town in South Africa to Cairo in Egypt. And this bridge and the train that crosses it, although he had died by the time it opened, was very much a part of that dream. And the bridge made international news in 1975 at the height of the Liberation War, when peace talks were held between opposing sides, black nationalists and white Rhodesians, in a train carriage poised here above the gorge. The talks lasted 9.5 hours and went nowhere, and tragically the war ground on. Now, trains still cross this bridge as originally intended, but I suspect it's now much more famous for being one of the most spectacular bungee jumps in the world. And during the season, people leap off this platform over here and they plunge more than 400 feet down that way. It's not the highest bungee jump in the world, but it is the only one where people leap above a river packed with crocodiles and hippos. And over there in the distance is this wonderful flying fox ride and a giant gorge swing. And I know this is a walk, but if you'll just indulge my adolescent adrenaline fantasies.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ah! Woo! Oh my goodness! Woo! Woo! So we're now at the top of the southern end of the falls. If you look down there, you can see these boiling rapids. I'm going to head down these very steep steps and meet you at the bottom in just a few minutes. So keep going on your machine, take a sip of water, because we are going to be walking back up here, and it's going to be quite challenging, but worth it, because I got a wonderful surprise for you at the end. See you shortly. So congratulations, you made it to the bottom of this incredible gorge. And now the question is, can we get back up? It's a very, very challenging walk. Of course, the answer is, you can, you're amazing, you're fit, you're strong. But before we do that, catch your breath, take a sip of water, and let's just soak it in for a second. That's the amazing steel span bridge we were just standing on top of a few moments ago, and if you can believe it, that's where people bungee jump from, 400 feet up there. And it's so amazing to have this epic place all to ourselves. I'm so thrilled that I was able to bring you down here today. All right, I'm ready to head back up, and I hope you are too. You're gonna feel your machine really kick up. So let's do it. We've got an amazing surprise for you at the top. All right. So as we make our way back up the gorge, you're really going to start to feel your calves burn, your hamstrings burn. We're getting close to the top. You guys at home are doing amazingly well. If you're anything like me, your glutes, your calves are starting to burn. You'll be huffing and puffing a little bit on this incline. So hang in there. Let's keep going. Let's actually just catch our breath here for a second. One of the really magical things about Zimbabwe is every time you turn a corner, there's a surprise waiting. And just up here, there's this huge troop of baboons just hanging out, eating bugs and berries out of this lush green jungle. And there's a whole lot of mothers here with babies. Like this is a mum here with a juvenile tucked in close to her. And this is a curious, hello. That's a very curious and very scared little juvenile baboon. How about that? All right, if this young mum will let us go past, we can keep moving. Can we come past, darling?